Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that we're all here, that we made it. It is April 5th, 2021, and this is the daily medicine transmission. So welcome. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much for being here, subscribing to this channel, whether you are on YouTube or BitChute. It really does mean a lot to independent content creators like myself to have subscribers and to have, more reinforcement for all of us being on our mission. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you are not new to the channel, but you haven't subscribed yet and you're still just kind of feeling it out, I hope you do subscribe. That would mean a lot, and it does impact the AI algorithm on these platforms to push this content out to a wider audience. So independent content creators have a lot of competition these days when it comes to social media. So any little bit really does help. So welcome to the Daily Medicine Transmission. It is April 5th, 2021. We are in our last lunar quarter of this lunar cycle. I've already posted the weekly astrology report video. It is on YouTube. It is on BitChute. You can access both of those things from Telegram or Facebook. All of that is in the description box below in this video. And yesterday was Easter, so happy belated Easter if you haven't watched the astrology report yet, and I talked about that. So I would actually very much recommend checking out that report. It's only 30 minutes long. It's just looking at the week leading up to the next new moon. This week really, really counts. It really does count. And the title of this transmission today is that we choose our experience. And this is often misinterpreted, and it's intentional in my estimation. Not everybody is intentionally misinterpreting it. As we're moving along our journey in life, our own evolution, our spiritual progress and progression, we are always looking towards guidance and teachers and those who have been through the process. And this leaves us open to taking in false narratives and false light. And the concept that we choose our experience is potentially very triggering for people, especially when your experience is based on events that have happened that you have no control over, that have negatively impacted you, that have left you with trauma and ultimately a sense of victimhood. And this is the mischaracterization that I think keeps people in the loop of always being a victim or needing a savior, being a savior, that Chiron wound being so unresolved. And a lot of this is based on a faulty representation of the concept that we choose our experience. So if you listen to Daniel Scranton and his daily channelings of the Arcturians, he spoke about this today, and it came through very strongly in my own reading today and my own intuitive message. So this transmission is very much linked with that message as well, in that we do choose our own experience, and an experience is a feeling-based individual event. The experience is not the external event that happens around us or to us or that we have, observation of. The experience is our own interaction with that event. And we do choose that experience. And as things are building, there is a crescendo happening here, and I talked a lot about this in the astrology report, and what to expect as this week unfolds. There is a lot to really wrap our heads around. And with all of this Aries energy, Mercury is now in Aries, there is a lot of focus and a lot of energy and a lot of our mind now and our communication really situated in the impulse to be, the subjective experience of actualization, individuation. The Aries archetype is cardinal fire, that spark of creation that is within the seed. It holds all of the potential for a life to grow. And in Aries, we aren't really thinking about the collective. We aren't necessarily thinking about anything besides just our subjective, instinctual survival, and not in a Lilith type of way, although that is very factored in, and we're going to talk about that today. But the impulse to be ourselves, our subjective I am that I am is very strong now. And the moon transiting, I don't want to go over too much of what I went over in the astrology, but the moon transiting through Capricorn yesterday, in this moment, it has moved into Aquarius and into Pisces, a dark moon in Pisces this week, and then into Aries for the next new moon on the 11th. This transit of the moon is bringing us emotionally back to the experience of the collective, right? Because Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, these are about the collective experience. And so we can't forget about that. And yesterday's third quarter square was very reflective of that. And so again, I would really encourage you to just familiarize yourself with the main transits that are going on in this last lunar quarter. We started this new moon cycle really activating and setting intentions around discovering our dharma, our individual role within the right action as the highest potential unfolds. And we get to choose that too. And we get to choose our experience of the events that are unfolding, that we don't have a choice necessarily, but we choose which timeline to resonate with. We choose what fractal we want to be part of the unfolding, right? For as much as Pluto in Capricorn right now is pulling apart all of the old structures, dissolving in some ways, completely dissolving and destroying the old matrix. We are building a new one. And in this process, we have to know very much about who we are individually. And as we come into this next lunar cycle, the next new moon, the first new moon of the season, so it's really going to kick off. We have to be very clear with ourselves what it is that we are holding within us, right? The inner fulfillment that we are ultimately responsible for creating for ourselves. And so when I say we choose our experience, we don't choose the things that happen to us. We don't have control over everything that happens to us. What we do have control over is our response to it, our experience of it. And today's intuitive message is just full of really good ways to wrap our minds around this idea if this is a new concept to you. And it also does... Sometimes things do happen that are chaotic, and I guarantee you, again, you should really listen to the astrology. I guarantee you that there is going to be more chaos brewing this week as we wrap up this lunar cycle with Eris involved. And I talked a lot about Eris and chaos on Friday's transmission. The whole point of the astrology report was about the opportunities in the chaos, and if we want to make the most of those, we do have to come to terms and realize that we choose our experience, and we get to choose which timeline, which fractal, which geometric pattern that is the Capricornian, the next iteration of the Capricornian matrix. We get to choose that. Now, in evolutionary astrology, Pluto is a big part of our soul's progression and evolution. It is the final word. And in the natal chart, we have Pluto that where it's situated is really where we have the most power of transformation. And so working on the polarity point of our natal Pluto is showing us where we need to move into. And so similarly, right now, as Pluto is in Capricorn, really making, short work of everything that has been, we still have to work with what gives us personal power within the Cancer archetype that is opposite of Capricorn. What is the lattice work that holds us together? Where do we root ourselves, and how do we find a sense of security and emotional stability in the midst of destruction? That is really the work. And so the moon came by today, early this morning, and met with Pluto. So there has been a bubbling to the surface. Maybe you've been pre-waving it. I know I have. This connection here When the moon meets Pluto, this is where intense emotions that are usually repressed start coming to the surface. Things in the subconscious that we're not really seeing are being activated. They're coming to our awareness. They're coming to our emotional awareness with the moon. And sometimes it can be really overwhelming. So when the moon now in Aquarius and making a sextile, and we'll look at the chart really briefly just to go over that. With the moon coming into Aquarius, meeting now in a sextile, Mercury now in Aries, this is gonna come, that fire is coming out of our mouth now, that impulse to be and that really fiery, ambitious Aries energy is going to be coming straight through and out of our mouths with this communication piece with Mercury. But the moon in Aquarius, if we can really embrace this idea that we choose our experience and take what comes up with this Pluto and moon conjunction that it has already happened and most likely really made itself known through the dream state and something that we woke up with this morning, then we can take this moon in Aquarius, take that energy, take that experience that we are having and apply that in a way that's very masterful, right? And coming into a sextile, right? A 60-degree angle with Mercury. This is an investment opportunity into, identifying ourselves with the greater purpose, the greater participation in life, because that's the whole point. Even in Aries, as we are in a, as it represents archetypally this experience of I, me, mine, right? The subjective experience, the I am that is just trying to be itself and experience itself. The concept of duality, the ritualization of relationship, the interaction of the two poles of positive and negative within is something that we're all learning, because the whole point of coming into form and coming into life is to then propagate it, to move it forward, to create something bigger than ourselves, something beyond ourselves as well. And so ultimately, even coming into all of this Aries energy, it's important to realize that this all leads to where we are going collectively. And the moon brings us back around and reminds us of it. And so with our communication in the realm of ideas and the mind and the movement of data back and forth with Mercury and our manifestation power, Mercury does really represent, it is the magician, our manifestation potential. If we can see ourselves in the greater perspective, in the larger perspective, and the participation in something bigger than ourselves. But we have to walk away. We have to let go of that which is not bearable on a social level anymore, right? Aquarius, 3 degrees of Aquarius is a deserter from the Navy, right? It is the idea that we break out and of those social situations that are not in line with the higher version of ourselves anymore. And we have the capacity to do that because we are in cosmic coherence to the natural law, to the universe, and we start to feel it and apply that Aquarian energy. And so, but that's going to require that we let go, that we walk away, that we desert what is not bearable socially anymore. And that will have showed itself in the emotional ramifications when the moon met Pluto. So let's look at the chart real quick just to see what's going on. And also something important to point out for today is that I'm going to point this out on this chart real quick, which is that Black Moon Lilith has now stationed direct, and this is the true Lilith. You can also use the average or the mean. I always use the true because, and the true nodes because it's just a more accurate daily reflection of things. Lilith, look at this, back in conjunction with Eris. So that happened on Friday while Lilith was in retrograde and is now back in the same position today, now moving direct. And so the chaos and what will bring up in us in a survival, in a dark, feminine way, right? The the deep instinctual survival, self-preservation aspect deep within us, meeting Eris today. And so we have to, and at the same time, the moon meeting Pluto. So just be mindful that if you woke up in a funk today, or if you're really struggling with some deep feelings, some shadow that's coming out and you didn't expect, or just feeling kind of like a victim about things that you have no control over, or really hyper focused on the negative aspects that you don't want. It's okay to know these things. It's okay to be and to be aware and to be informed and to know where you stand. That is really what's important. It's just because you focus on them does not necessarily mean you will manifest them, because the conscious mind is not where manifestation comes from. It comes from the subconscious, which this moon meeting Pluto earlier, hours ago, really brought up to the surface, or at the very least, dug them out of those dark corners within us when it comes to what we're contributing to, how we are getting up the mountain. And the opposite aspect of Pluto in Cancer, 27 degrees Cancer, this is a storm raging through a canyon with a bunch of expensive homes. What is it that's going to maintain our sense of security? And like I said, that lattice work that Cancer represents in the fourth house, what is it that gives us a sense of a security? Well, that canyon certainly is going to protect us from that storm. We don't know for sure if it's going to destroy those homes or not, but this is much more about that esoteric and internalized experience with the moon, okay? Now, like I said, is going to be in a sextile to Mercury, now in Aries, and you see all of this energy with Aries, Mercury, the Sun, Venus, Black Moon, Lilith, and Chiron, which is on a different chart. So we're going to look here, right? And Chiron. So we have this stellium now of Aries. So we really are pushing out and actualizing our own subjective experience through a lot of different ways. Venus pulling in, the Sun expressing outward. Chiron, of course, is the wound of self. And now we have Mercury that's communicating and riding that spark in so many ways. So there's not a ton happening with the astrology today, but it has a lot of depth and it has a lot of meaning behind it. So we can look now at the actual reading and go from there, because this is really where I think a lot of the messages are going to come through in terms of today. So we do choose our experience. We don't choose what happens to us. We don't manifest the terrible things in our lives just because we focus on things that we are worried about. And believe me, the 5 of discs at the center of this reading today, there's a lot of worry. There's a lot of worry in our mind. That is Mercury and Taurus, really, really worried about things, and in a material way, in a material crisis that is involved with that. And it's just going to keep building over the week, okay? So today is this chance to really decide what it is we want to be aligned with. Are we sure that we are aligned with what we want to bring into this next cycle with this next new moon? It's going to be important, because by the time the new moon comes, we will already be in some ways pregnant with what we are creating within ourselves. And we do need to take this time to discover if we are about to set into motion exactly what we want to set into motion. Now, we have the 8 of Wands. Now that's reversed. This was upright on Friday in this position. Now it is reversed. And so the swiftness of ideas and the sudden realization is something that we may be too rash. There's some thoughtlessness. There's some jealousy. And honestly, we were wasting a lot of time, disputing other people's claims rather than making decisions and making them quickly. So that energy coming into the moment and focusing on the heart of things, which is a lot of worry and concern, and in a material way. And usually when it's upright, we can manage in the hard times. There's something to learn from this situation. When it's reversed like this, there's unpredictable changes and destruction and failure and a real focus on that. And that is at the heart of things. Now, there's so many things to be concerned about, and I mean, there's an endless list at this point. Just pick your poison, really, about what you are really concerned and worried about. So, but energetically here, there is a lot going on, and there is a lot of really deep wisdom in this reading. And by the end of it, when we have the Ace of Wands reversed like this, we kind of have to go back over, excuse me, we have to kind of go back over and decide, are we putting into motion exactly the seed we want to plant? Are we absolutely aware? And maybe there's a false start here. Maybe it's based on all of this reversal energy when it comes to the Eight of Wands and the Five of Discs, because there's a lot of resistance here. Like I said, there's a lot of disputing information rather than being in line with the information that is valuable to us, that does resonate with us. People are pushing back against other things and wasting their time and their energy. And you're wasting your time and energy by listening to it and engaging in it and going all in this circle. And then you come into this moment here where there's real material worry about things. And if we, at the very least here, there is some real guidance and deep wisdom that is going to at least give us pause. And this, like I said, the moon meeting Mercury in a sextile today, the Aquarius moon, if we see that for what it is and we are in cosmic coherence, we use our feeling as actively, because that's about the choosing our experience. We get to choose our experience of an event, and the chaos is going to build, and it's going to build, and it's going to build. And entropy is just how the universe works, and it's always a vacillating and oscillating event. That balance and chaos. There would be no need to balance anything if there was not chaos to throw it off. So we do get a chance today to really decide if this is the seed we want to plant or not, if we are in line with our own subjective version of, our own subjective self and what we want to create. So let's look at each of these directly here. So the Eight of Wands is, like we said earlier, the swiftness, and there we go. I just want to make it a little bigger. So it is reversed, but we're going to look at it upright. And like I said, wasting our time with disputing, right? Rather than being in line with this very swift unfolding of mental energy and realization, right? Sagittarius is understanding. Mercury is how our mind works, our power of manifestation. So rather than talk, this consistent, like, this person is a shill, this person doesn't know what they're talking about, this person, blah, blah, blah. It's like constantly pointing the finger outwards. This person is trying to do this, blah, 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 blah. So it's spinning us out, and we're wasting our energy, right? And then we come into the moment, right, where the Five of Discs, it's already a difficult energy to work with, worry, right? Because Mercury in Taurus, our mind is just crunching about material issues, material crisis. Now this, when it's upright, you can, like I said, there's something to learn here, how to get through in hard times, how to manage our thought process around the material crisis. But again, reversal, the circumstances could get worse, or we expect them to get worse, or we don't, and there's unpredictable changes. Saturn is really helping us right now, as much as we always want to push back against that paternal, really dense, structured energy that Saturn has in Aquarius right now, like especially by the end of this week when it comes into an exact trine with the North Node. We have if we can get this cosmic coherence, especially with the moon in Aquarius over the next day or so, it allows us to have it's like giving us the equipment to be able to predict relatively easily the changes that are coming by measuring the shift in pressure. But this, if we're too busy spinning out and focusing on what's not working outside of us and like wasting that energy, we come into this moment, there's so much resistance already, destruction and failure, unpredictable changes, and really just feeling like there's nothing we can do about this material crisis or material concern that is right at the heart. There's a lot to be concerned about, and this is not in any way to diminish that concern. In fact, these are the type of situations that allow us to practice and fine-tune choosing our experience. It's easy when everything is going great and everything is flowing and we're getting everything what we want. But when there are issues, when there are events that we don't control that come up and they cause trauma, they cause grief, they cause heartache, these are the moments where we really get to practice and really embody that idea, and that is in itself a practice, choosing our experience. Now, our focus here, our conscious awareness, is really on the conflict, the close to home conflict, our relationships. Two of roses. This is an emotional component. The winged messengers. One is a dove with a message from the spirit and of peace and harmony. The other is a hawk showing with a scroll in its mouth, letting us know that there is still challenges coming and that it's predatory, and we might get pulled into the fray of this. It's definitely right on the surface here, getting pulled into this drama that this card represents, right? There's a little tea party, we have a cup knocked over, it's in the foreground. The home itself is way off in the distance. So it's really disconnected to a certain extent. And what we're focusing on in this picture is the bifurcation and the dualistic nature of relationships when we come into separation. The whole point of relationships in our soul work is to experience separation and unification as a result of it. That is the essence of relationship soul work, is to have this experience. So our conscious awareness, right, our attention right now is very much going to be pulled towards this conflict, right? And feeling this conflict. And, but there, we have the dove, we have the silhouette of the angel in the background to also, and it's much bigger than the hawk, right? There is, and it's in the center, the top center here. So there's a message from spirit about being compassionate and not getting pulled into the drama of this conflict, even though it's probably very close to home and right in our face. So subconsciously, though, this is where the real power is the Akashic field. The One of Forces is really about how all the power is in the Akashic field. All of the power of and our energy vibrates within this realm, right? This is the realm where of all of the potential that ever was and ever will be is in this field. And we can increase and accelerate our experience, right? There's that word, experience, by opening doors to the Akashic record. So when we are allowing ourselves to tap into a much broader range of experience, when we are maybe focused on the drama of this this emotional conflict that's very close to us, if we can root ourselves here, and this is really what's going to give us the opportunity to maybe reconsider what seeds we are planting. And I think over the weekend, that really came out very strongly in a lot of conflict within ourselves and what we are doing and how we are doing it. And there may be, I know for me, I definitely hit some brick walls when I keep trying to step outside of what ultimately is my dharma and try to get involved in other levels. And it's not that that's inappropriate or that those types of events or ways of organizing are not appropriate or they shouldn't be done. It's just we all have our role to play. So we're going to get you get pulled out of that within the chaos, right? And again, you go back to the full moon. What did we see? What was reflected from the inside of us? What is it that we can anchor into in a time of confusion and chaos that will inspire us in our mastery? That is what the full moon showed us. So going back to that as we wrap up this week is really important. But grounding down and rooting into this area here of the Akashic field, letting us know that everything everything is a potential, and we can just dip in and choose our experience by aligning with it, right? Your life force resonates with the universal synchronicity of this field, right? It's about alignment. It's not about choosing what happens to us. It's not about forcing anything to happen, to make it happen, quote unquote, with all of this Aries energy. We could be feeling that way, and Mars is in Gemini. So it's really forcing the ideas and the communication out as well, and the exteriorization of what we've discovered. Again, it's about aligning with the potential of what we want to create. It's about aligning with the experience that we want, okay? So this is at the root of things, and it's going to give us a chance, like I said, to really address this Ace of Wands, even though it's reversed. This is a moment today where we get to be like, is this the seed I want to plant? Is this the first spark of creation that I want to put into the world with this new moon? Because by the time the new moon comes, we're going to, like I said, we're going to be holding this. We're going to be holding it within us. That template will be within us already. And the next lunar cycle is going to be about the inner fulfillment of holding that. So we want to be sure that we are activating what we want coming into this next lunar cycle. Okay, so we'll just show that real quick. The Ace of Wands, just to give you an idea and get you a visual representation. And remember, it's reversed in this position. So oftentimes this can be very vexing or a false start. This could very well be a false start, but with the One of Forces at the root here, this is really like, maybe we should cancel that thing that we thought we were going to do and really make sure that it's not based in the consistent mental energy of worry and wasting our mental energy on pointing fingers and things like that, and really aligning with our ability to create our own experience, to choose our experience. Okay. So the guidance is pretty remarkable today, actually. So the Eight of Forces, the lightning bolt, this is, this is pretty self-explanatory. It's also in the Akashic Tarot, the numbers only go from 1 to 8. So this is the end of the suit of forces, which is the fire energy, the force of nature. So it's a time of splitting apart, and we see that and we feel that with the winged messengers, the drama, and it's close to home. It's very close to home. It's within our own hearts, right? It may not be literal necessarily, but we're still feeling it as if it is. And so the Eight of Forces is a time of splitting apart, and there's woundedness, there's grieving, there's disappointment that comes from this splitting apart, right? This lightning bolt is going to split this tree in half. I mean, there's no way around the feeling of something like that. So, but we've been aware of the difficulty for a while. This winged messenger, the Two of Roses, this is not new. This is not new conflict. And we've been unwilling in some ways to acknowledge it fully. And so the lightning bolt comes along and cleanses everything, right? Homeostasis in nature in terms of, electrical charge. It balances the electrical charge in the atmosphere through lightning. And it's time to accept this and not fight it. I think there is, and again, this is about the polarity point of where Pluto is currently. We need to focus in on our power in the Cancerian energy, which is how we protect ourselves emotionally and not close ourselves off, but what is it that protects us and shields us so that we are internally very strong and powerful and completely in touch with our emotional capacity, our intuitive capacity, because that's really what's going to get us through a lot of this. It's time to accept it and not just fight it. And know that it's a cleansing, right? The storm cleanses the field. And the honeybee that is out here with us is about compassion. Let compassion and forgiveness towards yourself, towards other people, be your top priority. Because this is about choosing our experience. We don't have a choice over where the lightning strikes, right? We don't have a choice in that matter. What we have a choice is how we experience that. We can experience experience it as a victim. We can experience it as being drawn into the drama of the heartache and letting that be our identity in that moment. Or we can have compassion for those around us. We can have compassion towards ourselves for maybe participating in it at some level. We all do it. We all do it. We're just human beings, and nobody gets away on this planet in this dimension of reality. Nobody gets away with not having these moments. If you really think that you have it all figured out and you are awake, which many people I have seen this that are doing this Eight of Wands reverse thing of pointing fingers, they're also the people that think they have it all figured out. If you do, then chances are you have very little figured out. I mean, that's just kind of how it goes, right? When you have a moment of awakening, there's no thought. You don't think to yourself, oh, I'm awake. You're outside of all of that in that moment. So have some compassion for yourself and for others in this situation, because some people are going to really be grieving. Some people are really going to struggle against the chaos. Some people are really going to be disappointed and feel fractured and wounded. So this should always be our top priority, compassion and forgiveness. We can't have a compassionate society that's heart-based, like the Pleiadians are trying to teach us, without making this our top priority. So this is the work of Buddhism. This is the work of Christ, is compassion and forgiveness. This is the Pleiadian aspect. This is also the Pisces archetype and the 12th house, because we all go through it. So when it comes to, now this is fascinating. When it comes to that Akashic field, the octopus is the shapeshifter, right? We can shift our shape to choose our experience, right? This is about aligning with the experience that we want to pull out of the Akashic field, okay? Aligning with it, changing our shape, changing our color, right? The octopus's skin, an octopus skin is changing color based on what is going on internally, how it feels in any given moment. And it's also a disguise, camouflage, flexibility, regeneration, all of these kind of concepts that go along with it. But the big one that seems to be really strong in terms of this Akashic field is that we can shift our shape by energetically. We can energetically shapeshift and align with the experience we want to have. Okay. Now we do see that the Seven of Forces has come out again, and it's reversed. I mean, this is we are in a difficult situation. There's no doubt about it. And it has caused some loss of clarity. There's also no doubt about that either. And so with it reversed like this, it's saying that we do have to find a way to get back into balance. And these are not mutually exclusive either. I mean, the shape shifting and aligning with and resonating with the experience we want to have by literally shifting our shape energetically is going to help us find clarity and find balance. And conversely, the balance, trying to find clarity and balance, working towards it, taking active steps. This is about taking active steps, the Seven of Forces, actually doing transfiguration in order to balance those scales within us. Taking active steps in order to find balance. When we do that, we actually start transfiguration, right? We are changing how we are figured and structured, how we are shifting our shape, aren't we? So these two things are working together, this octopus and this Seven of Forces, and it allows us to root subconsciously, right? That is where real manifestation comes from, not our conscious mind, our subconscious. This is why meditation is absolutely important, okay? This is why other types of modalities that get you into your subconscious, QHHT, yoga nidra, meditation, even Reiki, right? Those types of energy work modalities are about getting into the subconscious realm. This is where the shadow hides out. And if we have not integrated that part of ourselves, it can be used against us. So this balance requires, though, that we take actual action. Okay, little steps to find balance. Okay, maybe that means that if we woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning, that we do something that we know for a fact is going to help mitigate that, right? Making sure that we're meditating, going out into nature and taking some quiet time to ourselves. Maybe we need to do a couple sun salutations, right? Some hatha yoga. Maybe we take a bath. Maybe we have a soak. Maybe we take a run. There are lots of things that we can do, but it's important that we actually do them. We can't just like sit back and be like, I wish I could have, that's all great. And I have heard this before, that manifestation techniques are are related to privilege, and in the dark or inverted sense, that may actually be true, because what does it do? It actually keeps you in this victim narrative if you are looking at it in that way. But when you realize that we all have the capacity, all of us have the capacity to choose our own experience, because we can shift our inner shape, we can align with the experience that we want, and keep it general. I'm not too big of a fan of Abraham Hicks anymore, but I will say that keeping it general has been a really good way of working with that energy, keeping it generalized. You don't have to get too specific, because when you get too specific, you're using your conscious mind, right? You could be thinking about, I want to not feel this anymore, and getting really specific. I want this, and I want this, and I don't want this, and I want this. And really, you have to get into your subconscious, and you have to get into a generalized vibration of what you want to feel: abundance, peace of mind, contentment, joy. When you take it to a point where it's more generalized, it makes it easier to find yourself in alignment with that particular feeling and experience. And when you can align with that feeling and that experience, then you are choosing your own experience. And that doesn't mean that you've chosen to be abused. Absolutely not. That is the hijacking of the manifestation law of attraction. That is right there. And this is why people push back against it, because it's been misappropriated, mischaracterized, and it's intentional in order to keep people from actually realizing their own power. You choose your own experience. You don't choose to be traumatized. You don't choose to be abused. You don't choose to be on the other end of violence or coercion. We don't choose that. What we do choose is our experience, which is how we feel about it, how we, the wisdom that we gain from it. And if we can do that, then we are consistently able to resonate with the timeline we want to be on. And then we find that the reality that we are engaged with is matching that internal environment. But we do have to take active steps in order to find balance. And like I said, I had a million, those are just a bunch of suggestions. Everybody's way of getting into the zone, into the vortex, is different. So guys, that's the transmission for today. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Check out the astrology report. It's interesting. I was so tired when I made that report, but I have found actually that when the mind is just exhausted, the channeling, and the access to deeper knowledge is a lot easier when your mind is so tired that it can't, your ego can't keep getting in the way. And so the channeling was certainly more easy in that way, but I definitely was feeling very tired when I put forward the astrology of the week. So we'll be back tomorrow for tomorrow's transmission, and we are all going to be staying on top of choosing our own experience, doing the things we need to do to get into balance internally, knowing that we are responsible for shifting our own energetic shape and aligning with the experiences we want to have, because at the heart of things, there is a lot of concern and worry, and not to get caught up in all of the drama and all of the going around and pointing fingers and blaming this person and blaming these people and getting caught in the, in the psyop basically of, spy versus spy. Basically, they are controlling both sides of it when it becomes a very back and forth type of mentality. As soon as you get caught in that, you know that something is wrong. And it's not to say people shouldn't be responsible for their actions, but you can't force that. That is something that unfolds by way of karma. And Saturn will do what Saturn's gonna do. Let Dad take care of that issue, right? Let that paternal, structured, disciplined aspect do what it does best, which is there's no getting around the laws of nature and the law of cause and effect. There's none. And sometimes these cycles are really large, and so it seems like things aren't happening when we, our own individual ego, want them to happen. But I assure you that all truth will come to light. There's no stopping that. So thank you so much for being here. Take great care of yourselves today. I will see you tomorrow for the Daily Medicine transmission. If you are interested in a reading or energy work to support your process, if you want to know your starseed origins, because the starseeds are really being called now, this is time to start being activated and come forward. You can book a reading or a service through catalystenergies.net. It's in the description box below. And like I said, social media is accessible, Facebook and Telegram. And as always, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. And even that is a support for this work. I love you guys. It's been a pleasure. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye.